You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Cindy Myers, animal listener and intuitive coach from Oregon, about one of her books, Alpacas Don't Do That. Welcome, Cindy.
Hi, Polly. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. I know our listeners are super interested in hearing about your book. How long have you raised alpacas?
Let's see, I'm out around 10 years now. Almost 11.
And how did you get started?
That's a story and a half. Well, I was working as an engineer for the Navy for about 17 years and not super happy doing it. Taking care of my elderly mom at the time, and then went back for a master's degree program in psychology, counseling psychology, and thoroughly burned myself out.
Oh.
And a lot of life stuff happened, including a house fire.
Oh,
and
no.
I was done with all of that, and my mom had passed away, the fire, and I didn't want to go back to a job that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
To have stuff that I didn't care about anymore. I quit. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And then as I was driving around looking for a place to move to up in Oregon, I discovered alpacas, and 2 weeks later I bought them.
Oh, wow. That's so neat.
And they just have taught me so very much about my intuition and opened up a whole new life for me that I absolutely love.
And so do you still have your alpacas?
I do. I have a herd of 24 alpacas that I'm looking out at the window right now at as we talk. And I have 24 alpacas, 3 dogs, and 4 barn cats.
Oh, wow. Well, it sounds like heaven.
It is. I call it my slice of heaven. I have 5 acres in beautiful Central Oregon.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell us about the book.
This book is kind of my memoir. It's kind of how I got into not just alpacas, but my intuition and opening up to this different way of thinking, a more positive approach to life, and just really opening up to my intuition that I really didn't believe in or trust, especially as an engineer, that I just thought that was a bunch of woo, to be honest with you. And so I had to overcome a lot to trust it, and the alpacas were very patient at times. But they really it made it very clear that I do have this ability, and then they helped me hone it and enhance it to the point where I can do what I'm doing.
And so do other alpaca owners call you when they have issues with their alpacas? Are you kind of an alpaca specialist?
Yes and no. There's a few that reach out to me. And actually, I thought, this was going to be my big opening was with alpacas, but the alpaca world. But they're actually slower to come into it than the dog and the cat people and the horse people.
Okay.
I don't know why, but the people that know me personally, yes, absolutely. They reach out to me all the time, and I'm happy to support them. But a lot of folks that don't know me yet, they're kind of wary still. So that's okay. It all takes time.
Yeah. And so what's one of the biggest tips you've learned from the alpacas?
Biggest tips: patience and trusting the intuition and being quiet, not using your words. Using your thoughts in your heart instead of your words. There's so many lessons, and I do talk about these life lessons. This book is really about the life lessons that I've learned through the alpacas and some of my other animals. But I think some of the big ones is in my chapter with Jamila, who's one of my special girls that I still have. And she's just very wise. And probably one of the biggest lesson I ever learned from her is being grateful for for just the simple act. Okay, we humans tend to be kind of a bottomless pit of neediness at times. we need constant validation, and I was guilty of that. I was one of those where, I needed somebody to show me a lot, multiple times that they were, yes, I mean, I care about you. Yes, I mean, I'm doing something good for you. It wasn't just one time. I needed verification lots of times that this was real, that people really did genuinely care about me. I just didn't trust that it was there all the, every time. And then I was out there with Jamila one day. I had a really bad day, and I go, I need a Jamila moment. She's my special girl. So I walked out to the field, and the alpacas, their instinct is not like a dog to come running up to you and wag and want to be around you. They're a little more cat-like. If they want to be with you, they will. If they don't, bye. Anyway, so she's out grazing, and the alpacas, if they see us as predators, so their instinct is by nature to be wary of us. But she stopped what she was doing when I went out there, and I reached out to her with my mind and said I could really use a Jamila moment. So she stopped grazing. She walked over to me. She gave me a kiss, and then she walked away. And I went, is that it? That's all you're going to do for me? I'm having this really crappy day, and you just give me one kiss and then walk back and go back to grazing? And I heard in my head, she goes, what are you talking about? I gave you what you asked for. In that moment, it just stopped me dead in my tracks. And I went, you're right. You're absolutely right. And instead of thinking, is that all? I shifted my thought to going, that was everything. Mm-hmm. It was everything, because it was genuine. She gave up her instinct, and it was genuine. She came over, and this was not a trick that I bribed her with carrots. I had nothing on me. She offered it out of sincerity, and that is everything. And that totally shifted my whole thinking of when somebody gives me something, offers me their kindness, it means everything. It isn't the stuff that didn't show up all those times. In that moment, it is everything. And my gratitude is intense, and it was just a whole shift in my whole nature.
And was that the first time that you realized that you had this gift?
No, we'd already lived up in Oregon, but it was one of those moments that shift your whole thinking, your whole perspective on life. It held up the mirror and realized, oh, I'm one of those needy people. Yuck. I don't want to be like that. And I got to choose a different path. Okay. And appreciate those moments. And that's what the alpacas have taught me. I've had so many of those really special, brief moments that mean the world. But because I've learned how to observe and participate in those moments, they mean everything. They carry you through the hardest times in life. And they can be just a brief moment, but they are powerful. And by taking a moment and allowing them to come into us, it keeps us going through some of those dark times. But we have to be able to be willing to stop and listen to them and appreciate them for what they are. And we humans tend to blow right past them. So learning how to take that moment and be still with them, you connect at a deeper level of your soul and your psyche. And that's kind of how this book talks about that evolution of being one of those very left brain types of people that also worked my right brain, but really lived in the left brain world that wasn't connected to the heart very well, and how these animals helped evolve me into being a more heart-connected person.
Wow, that's awesome. Where can the listeners find the book?
This book is found on Amazon.com, or there's a link from my website to Amazon at beananimallistener.com, and that will take you straight to Amazon as well.
Okay, well, we'll definitely have to get the book and promote it for you. It sounds wonderful.
Well, I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah, I look forward to having you back, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Polly.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.